Hello, my positive presence people. This is Michelle Marie King, and I wanted to, before we launch our next season, which is Positive Soul, I'm so excited for the guests and the conversations and some of just the depth and the just all the experiences that we're going to be talking about in next season. Before we launch that, I wanted to just kind of make an announcement that is going to positively impact the Positive Presence podcast. I feel like I use so many P's when I talk about positive presence. We are bringing on a new podcast producer just to stay in the P zone. And Jasmin, we've had such an incredible, 2 years together, year and a half together. And this vision of how we are moving forward with the podcast was really something that she really put her love and energy and light into. And we're moving forward with that. But unfortunately for us, fortunately for Jazz, she is moving into a different direction in her life. And we send her off with so much love and light. We are still really, really great friends and family. But as we let Jasmin go and explore her new life, we brought in a new podcast producer. Her name is Thea Saccoliti. She's actually been a former guest on our show, is a current positive presence coach, mentor coach, and is also the executive assistant on our corporate team for Positive Presence Global. And she has so many hats. And Thea, I wanted to kind of give you an opportunity to just kind of come in and share what you love about the podcast, how are you going to kind of spin this into, like your own vision of what you want it to kind of go on to, taking it from Jasmin's vision and really just welcome you to the Positive Presence podcast family.
Thank you. I mean, your introductions make everyone sound so cool. Like everyone's done. And you're like, let me just hype you up for a minute and now let's talk.
All true. It's all true.
Yes. Well, we appreciate that. But I mean, for the podcast, I'm as of now taking it with where Jasmin was going. I'm actually having brunch with her on Saturday. So she's still input if I'm ever stuck. I'm like, hey, Jazz. But I think, just running with all of the different aspects of where we can find positivity internally, externally, in every facet and aspect of life, and talking to various people of ages and backgrounds and just exploring how they have found positivity in every direction and just soaking up all the knowledge we can from everyone, because each and every single person out here has some level of lessons and things that we can learn from them. So
absolutely. And one thing that I'm so excited that we're going to start implementing with the podcast in general is just to start to do videos and launch those videos, full episodes, live video of us doing the actual podcast interview. So you get to see some of the behind the scenes. Sometimes Taya and I are holding our dogs. Sometimes, we get to see like the backgrounds of our guests as well. Like Devin, who is our first guest for Positive Soul, was in Puerto Vallarta. So, I mean, like we get to see kind of like the actual atmosphere of where our guests are at and really get to feel their energy because we're seeing them live and in person as well. So I'm super excited to be launching that as part of the podcast.
Yeah, me too. I'm personally a very visual person. And as much as I love podcasts, this is probably ironic because I'm the podcast producer now, but I will be the person on YouTube like watching the actual videos to see them. I'm very glad. And we're also going to have our teasers on our social media now. So really just expanding as much as we can so everyone can hear all of these amazing tidbits. And
yes, absolutely. And let's talk about Positive Soul this next season that we're launching with. And man, we have some incredible guests. Like I mean, we have alchemists and we have shamans and we have intuitives and we have love experts, self-love experts. We have, we have coaches, and I'm going to be doing a Michelle moment about archetypes and witness and connecting to self. And I feel like this season upcoming is just bursting at the seams with just so much positive content that is so important to learn and really kind of soak in as you're going through your own personal development journey.
Definitely. I think that it's the kind of topics that people don't necessarily discuss. So when you listen to like one of the upcoming episodes, you have to let it sink in. It's like there's
Mhm.
so much knowledge and so much to think about. Because what is a positive soul? How do we connect to this other side of us? And how do you even discover it? And then um, work hand in hand. So I think it's definitely an important topic that just isn't talked about enough.
Mhm.
And I love that we're shedding light on it and not just talking about it, but teaching our listeners how to become one and grow closer to these other sides of themselves and recognize how to then impact others with what they're hearing here.
Yeah, absolutely. And Taya, I mean, you're a former student of Positive Presence. You're one of the OGs, like 4 or 5 years ago, who was a student of
Wild.
mine. Crazy. I mean, that was back in the day in Colorado and like Castle Rock when we were meeting in person. And it was such crazy, unique time. But as a former student, coming out of the season of the awakening and helping people understand, this power that's within themselves and how to kind of bring that to the surface and how you're interacting in life, and then going into positive soul, which is kind of like connecting to all of the authenticity that you are without like stripping away all the things from your body outward, and just understanding what's left over is how you should be showing up in the world and positively contributing to the world. How do you think, being a former student of these teachings and this work, what has been kind of like the most awakening moments for you, and how have you found, kind of your connection to your own soul through this whole 5-year journey?
Oh my goodness, that is such a deep question. I'm
We
like,
weren't ready. We weren't
yeah,
ready.
I
I
wasn't ready,
went
but
there.
it's okay. We'll wing it. No. I mean, I think with the awakening, I love that we started with the awakening before diving into the soul, because I think it is really important to find that confidence in yourself before you really start digging deeper, because
Mhm.
I think that can be a very dangerous kind of area to explore if you don't have that self love that you have awakened within first.
Yeah.
Um, so I think for me, honestly, like you as my coach did so much in teaching me that I am more than the labels that other people put on me, and really teaching me to stand my ground and listen to myself and follow the direction that I want. And then from there, once I was able to kind of build this foundation of a clear vision of who I am and the direction I want to go, I could start then looking at all the puzzle pieces that built that person and where it's coming from, and then really fine tuning the internal aspects of, like why am I not why. I just listened to Devin. I'm not asking why anymore. I listen to Devin's podcast if you want to know
Yes.
why I'm not doing why.
Why not doing why? Yep.
How how I've become where I am and where I am going in life in those directions, and just seeing all of those tiny aspects rather than the whole being.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. For someone who was not prepared for this question, you were so eloquent in your
Oh,
answer.
thank you
Absolutely.
so much. Oh,
I
that's
couldn't have said it
I
better
mean,
myself.
that's coaching. That's all my coaching. I never know what my students are going to bring to the table. You just have to wing it and
Yep.
speak your truth and go from what you do know.
Yep, absolutely. Be unapologetically authentic, right? And that's
Yes.
one thing that I'm so proud of us as we've, like have found our footing in the Positive Presence podcast and the Positive Presence Global and our nonprofit arm, Positive Presence Foundation, that, like we have really cemented ourselves in that value of like being unapologetically authentic. We do everything from a place of light and love, and nothing that we do as a company or as individuals in this company or as a someone who has a voice in the world right now, like myself. But everything that we do comes from a place of love and light. It's not ever from a place of malice. But sometimes I think that the things that we do based on other people's perception can be seen as um, disrespectful or arrogant or frustrating or fearful or negative or whatever it might be. And I think when you can just set that kind of precedence as a company, as an individual, as a mentee, as a coach, that I'm here and everything that I do comes from a place of love and light. I'm going to learn, I'm going to fuck up, I'm going to falter, and I'm going to make mistakes, but I'm here positively contributing in every moment. And I'm so incredibly proud of what we've built with the podcast. I really, let's applaud Jasmin
Yes.
for everything that she has done in the podcast up to this point. And I cannot wait to see how you spin it into your own beautiful web of existence within the company as well. And I'm so incredibly grateful for you, my friend. And I can't even tell you how humbled I am to, now be sitting next to, I always have this quote that, you no longer need the teacher once you become the one teaching. And I think that you truly are the epitome of that. Like you were such an incredible student 5 years ago, 6 years ago, and you've really found your voice. And now being a mentor in this company and positively helping other versions of you, younger versions of you, you just do it so perfectly. And I am so incredibly humbled. It could not be a better compliment to me than to see how incredible you are as a coach.
Oh, thank you so much. I mean,
Okay.
you're the one who put the confidence in me. You're the one who said, okay, the second you graduate high school, let's get you a training. And I was like, I didn't even know. I was like, okay. But yes, just being a part of this company, whether it's as a student or with the podcast or a coach or executive assistant, I find so much joy in just being surrounded by the community. And I get so much out of being part of Positive Presence. You're in my future always.
Well, I'm so glad. Ditto. You will always have a home here, as well as will you, Jazz. I know you're listening to this, so anytime you want to come back, you are welcomed with open arms and open heart. And we appreciate all of our listeners. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to introduce Thea as our official podcast producer. And definitely come back and listen to all of our incredible guests for season 2, Positive Soul, starting with Devin Kearns, who is just such an incredibly incredible human and soul and everything on this planet. So we appreciate you, listeners. And remember, do you want to say it, Taya? Positivity can only spread when it is present. Thanks, guys. Bye.